Tuesday, everyone, and happy Veterans Day, and welcome to Inside the Newsroom. I'm your host, Maddie Paul. Inside the Newsroom, we bring you the trending stories of the KELOLAND area, and my favorite part, I say this every time, we bring in our newsroom staff members to talk about these trending stories. And these happen to be the same stories that you see every day on our newscasts and online at KELOLAND.com. As I said at the beginning of the show, today is Veterans Day, and many Sioux Falls restaurants will honor those who served with deals and discounts. So digital reporter Gracie Terrell made a full list in a KELOLAND.com original that you all can check out. And Gracie, I wanted to start off by asking you, since you made this completed list, when KELOLAND News publish lists like this, any type of list, what's the purpose? And for this one specifically, why do you think it's important to highlight veterans discounts?
Well, we do these types of, lists, throughout the year for different types of holidays or different, businesses that close over holidays and this for some discounts and deals. And I think it's a quick resource for people who are wondering, in Sioux Falls, what is going on, or, in the state even. And, some of these places are, big chains, so it's kind of advertised, but there's, long lists from national outlets that maybe have some locations in there that aren't really local here. So we try and kind of localize that. Reach out to small businesses as well, just to kind of, get a good list of things for people to know. I know this is a lot of the times I end up doing a lot of these types of stories, and they get a lot of traction on, the days that people are looking at that, which businesses are closed on Thanksgiving, which, what are different fall activities going on this weekend for Halloween, or just different types of things. And I think it's a good resource to have, and I think people, can look to the news for those types of things as well. So maybe there's not a lot of, reporting or talking to people, but that's not really what I think people who go to these stories are looking for. Quotes from the restaurant owners. They just kind of want, a list of the businesses, what they're offering, if there's specific time parameters for that. So I just kind of, look up all of the businesses, confirm that, the Sioux Falls locations here are also hosting or are offering those deals or anything. So I think it's just a good, quick story to do to, let people know and kind of tie in some conversation that is, happening all around us, whether it's, fall stuff, Veterans Day, and for the Veterans Day deals, it's something that, these, veterans, they've served our country, and a lot of businesses want to, honor them and kind of, cut them a little bit of a deal. So why not try and, put all of that together and let these veterans in the Sioux Falls, KELOLAND area know where they can, find some free things.
You mentioned that you look a lot at what's going on nationally with all those chain restaurants, and then also what's going on locally. So how do you compile that all together? Is it something where you just literally have to go on the internet and peruse, or do we get anything that comes in? What's that kind of research process like for you?
Yeah, well, for a story like this, I did a very similar one last year. So I kind of just referenced that list that I had made. And then just kind of looked up all of the businesses, Hy-Vee, Sioux Falls, Veterans Day breakfast, and just to kind of confirm that, there have been, some local people talking about it, or their Facebook pages have posted about it. So it's a lot of that, just a lot of, Googling, checking the websites, kind of confirming things. If I do need to call in to a business, if I'm not entirely sure, then I will do that, but it's not necessarily something that I'll record and, grab a quote for or something. So,
sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then this is kind of a weird question, but I always wonder if reporters have like a person in mind when they write a story. So it'd be interesting with like a list like this. Was there a veteran that you had in mind, or just someone that you were hoping to really give this story to as you were creating it?
Yeah. Well, my girlfriend is actually active military, so she is taking all of these different discounts today and taking advantage of that. She has the day off, so she's going around.
So really going to be hopping around every single place, as this list was meant to do.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be my biggest takeaway for a piece like this. But once again, what do you hope that some of our viewers can take away from a list like this?
Yeah, I know this will be going out kind of in the afternoon, so some of those breakfast places might not necessarily be open, but just I hope people, see it as a good resource and for where they can, go for dinner tonight. Or, I know Texas Roadhouse, they have a voucher that works until May 2026. So you can go pick that voucher up and then, get a free meal on another day of this year too.
Wonderful. Well, Gracie, thank you so much for being here at the Digital Desk to share these details. And everyone, you can read Gracie's story online at KELOLAND.com right now. Just scan that QR code that you see on your screen to go to our homepage and find that story. But still to come on Inside the Newsroom, the Sioux Falls Regional Airport is starting to see delays and even cancellations. And we hear from travelers when we come back after the break. You're watching Inside the Newsroom. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. On Monday, FlightAware said more than 20,000 flights were delayed and 2,500 were canceled by the airlines. That's after the FAA ordered airlines to cut flights at 40 of the nation's busiest airports to take pressure off the system. On Monday, 4% of flights were canceled by order of the FAA, and that number will climb to 10% by Friday. Locally, Rapid City reported 1 cancellation and 3 delays. In Sioux Falls, there were 9 cancellations and 18 delayed flights by yesterday evening. Tom Hansen checked in with flyers at the Sioux Falls Regional Airport to see how they are feeling about the situation.
People at the Sioux Falls Regional Airport are feeling the impacts of the government shutdown. Today, at least 5 arrivals are canceled and others are delayed. At least 4 of the canceled flights were from Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Eddie Lee flew in from Nashville and is headed to Mitchell for business. We talked with him just moments after he got off the plane.
No issues at all in Nashville. I went through Dallas and got delayed a few minutes, but nothing major, and already here today.
But it wasn't smooth going for everyone. 2 gentlemen told us they'd been waiting in this line for 2 hours trying to get rerouted. Jody Van Beek of Inwood, Iowa, was on a business trip to Las Vegas.
I left on Thursday. It was delayed about a half an hour, but by the time we got to Vegas, I was about 10 minutes later than what I should have been. This morning was supposed to fly out at 8, and we sat on the tarmac till 9 and flew out, but other than that, it was great.
Van Beek says she was a little nervous about flying home because of all the cancellations, but feels lucky it was only an hour delay and not a cancellation. On a national level, the airlines indicate we can expect residual delays and cancellations because of the issues over the weekend and severe weather in parts of the country.
And Tom Hansen joins us at the Digital Desk now to talk more about this story since you were out there at the airport yesterday, Tom. And since this was a type of man-on-the-street style story, what was your plan going in to gather travelers and interviewees for this story?
Yeah, the whole point of the story was just to talk to people, to see what was going on. And there were some grumpy people there.
I was going to ask you, what was the tone or the feeling going into the airport?
We've all flown, and to be put in that situation where there's so much uncertainty about what's going to happen for some of those people, not everyone and not the majority, but a minority of people were stuck. And those are the people I really wanted to talk to, but they were in no mood to talk. I talked to one guy and I said, hey, you want to go on camera? And he said, no, I'm afraid I'll say something that I shouldn't say.
Oh, no.
Well,
it's interesting that you bring that up because I noticed in this story, and I don't know how many people you spoke to, but you did have on-camera interviewees, and then you did kind of generalize some people that you had talked to that didn't want to be on camera. So why was that important for you to put in?
Just because that's what was happening, and that's our job is to report, okay, what's happening there, you know? And just because those people didn't want to talk, I still want to relay that information, right? Mm-hmm. The 2 people that we did talk to, they were one was not inconvenienced at all, really, and the other person was slightly, inconvenienced, but felt lucky that that's all she had to put up with.
Right, and I liked that you kind of wrote around their experiences for this story too. You know, we kind of, as the viewer, got to follow along in their shoes and their travel bags as they were there at the airport. But what elements did you really want to highlight while you were out there? I know you were saying that some of the atmosphere or tone was kind of frustrating, but this piece, you know, did you want it to feel frustrating for viewers?
I wanted to, whatever the feeling was that I ran into, that's what I wanted to convey. You know, I didn't, you know, you don't go out there with any preconceived notion. It's like, okay, what's happening? How are people feeling?
Yeah.
You know, and the more people you talk to, of course, the better idea you get. But, you know, I really wanted one of those people that was frustrated to go on camera, but I understood.
Right.
You know, I put myself in their shoes and saying, I'm waiting in line and I don't know when I'm going to get home or where my next flight's going to be, coming from. So I felt their frustration, and I hope that my story kind of conveyed some of that.
Is there anything else that you would like viewers to know about this story, Tom?
I don't know, Maddie. Just, if you're flying right now, just it's a tough situation for everybody.
Yeah. Little uncertainty.
Yeah, it is, and I guess the other part of this story, Maddie, was that, there were people who flew and had no problems.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
It was normal for them.
Yep. But, you're kind of switching gears yourself tonight. What are you working on for tonight for KELOLAND News?
I got to go to the practice rounds for the Olympic trials today. So some of the best curlers are in Sioux Falls, and we have the Olympic trials here in Sioux Falls at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. It's really a cool thing to watch these people. And I'm one of those people that I had no idea what curling was. Watched the Olympics years ago, and I stayed up till like 3 a.m. watching these Olympic trials because I was just so interested and enthralled in what they were doing. And my goodness. But I talked to an Olympic gold medalist from 2018, talked to a young and upcoming curler, and talked to 2 Paralympians, and talked about the difference between how they curl and how regular curling goes. And it was just this such cool people,
I'm excited to see your story tonight, Tom. Well, thank you so much for coming here to the digital desk to share all of these details. And everyone stick around, because up next, we're learning amid SNAP uncertainty that local businesses are offering their own deals. And we'll explain what we know so far when we come back after the break. Stick around for more Inside the Newsroom. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Local businesses are stepping up after the Department of Social Services announced a pause in SNAP benefits after the renewal date for South Dakota. Digital reporter Michael Dorn took a look at the impacts in a recent KELOLAND.com original story. And Michael, to start off, I just want to say KELOLAND News has been looking at a bunch of different local businesses who have been able to give back in some way during this period of uncertainty with SNAP benefits. And you were able to look at a local business that you had found. So I'm just curious, how did you learn about the work that was being done at the Franklin Food Market?
Yeah, so I think an important piece of this too is the day that this occurred, the 10th in particular. That's the renewal date typically for South Dakotans when they receive their SNAP benefits. So that SNAP card will typically renew on the 10th here. And I think that's kind of an important piece of this as well. But the thing I saw was I saw a Facebook post. I saw them basically reach out and say, hey, we're having a special deal, whether it be for an organization or for individual use. We're having a sale on ground beef for today only, because today's the day where those SNAP benefits were supposed to come back, but they didn't. So.
And that's how it worked. And you were able to talk to, I believe, the store manager and then a customer as well. So how do you think having those interviews in this story kind of helped shape out this piece?
Yeah, I think it made it have a lot of a bigger picture here, because, it's one thing to have a story where it's just, a supermarket's offering a sale. But I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's what we saw with those people, especially the people I talked to, was the manager, where they were like, it's not just for individual use. We're hoping that people are coming out and buying things for food drives, which is what happened. There was a lady from Lenox who was shopping for her local church food drive, and when I talked to the manager, she's certainly not the only one that they saw that was coming in for their local food drive either, or dropping them off. Believe there was a drop off at the Bishop Dudley house where a bunch of people were shopping for different places around Sioux Falls. So it was just a really cool opportunity for the community to get involved, to go out. And even if it wasn't for them, it was for someone else. And I think that's really cool.
Great point. Also in your story, you were able to get a statement from DSS. And one of the biggest takeaways I had from that statement, and also from the social media posts that you had put into your story as well, is that there's a plan to issue November benefits, whether it's partial or full, but that just really depends on the timing of Congress actions, is what they kept saying, DSS. So what did you hope viewers would learn or take away from this article?
Yeah, so we don't have any concrete dates as of yet. We just know it's supposed to be sometime this week where those benefits, either partial or full, get restored. That's according to DSS.
Yep.
So I think that's just the main takeaway here is people who are holding out or holding on to those benefits, they are coming back sometime this week here. And another thing I wanted to showcase here was just how the community is really coming together to help out each other.
Yeah. And you're still looking at some SNAP impacts tonight. What kind of story are you working on for KELOLAND News tonight?
Yeah, so I'm taking a look at the tribal impacts. Yesterday, we saw that the Yankton Sioux tribe declared a state of emergency because they are lacking things like SNAP and those benefits here. And I'm asking around to a bunch of different tribes about what they're seeing here today.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that article. Thank you so much for sharing all those details right here at the digital desk, Michael. And everyone stick around, because up next, we're looking at how one local foundation will help fund cancer survivors through scholarships. We'll take a look at a recent Eye on KELOLAND story when we come back after the break. You're watching Inside the Newsroom. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Getting cancer at any age is life-changing, but it is especially difficult when the patient is a child. In a recent Eye on KELOLAND story, Summer Roddershot showed us how a local foundation is supporting those types of cancer survivors. And Summer, to start off, I wanted to ask you, how did you learn about this foundation? And why did you want to devote your eye time towards creating this Eye on KELOLAND story?
Yeah, so I've done something with Ty Eschenbaum in the past. I believe it was around that June, May-ish time. It's actually sort of funny because we have way too many mutual friends, but we had never met. But he has his foundation. And when they first told me, because they were the ones that were like, hey, Summer, we have one of our cancer scholarship recipients, and they're willing to talk, and Ty's willing to talk about this event. I'm like, that is 100%. That's what eyes are made for, is to really be able to break down these stories and show you it fully rounded instead of just, a minute 15, a minute 30-ish seconds. It really gives you more time to devote to that. And when I heard what they were telling me, I'm like, that deserves a longer form.
You really did cover a lot of topics in this story. Not only the personal cancer stories, but also previewing an upcoming event for December, and then also the purpose of the foundation. So how do you think that eye time really allowed you to explore so many topics within this story that probably could just go on and on and on?
It probably definitely could have. If they would have gotten me some of their other recipients, I genuinely could have made it a longer eye.
Yeah.
But I just think it's such a great organization. And yeah, when they were telling me about it, I just was like, I wanted to have that time to be able to breathe and to be able to also talk, because we have the cancer scholarship recipient, but there's also the Make-A-Wish kids. A lot of the younger kids that you see there, they're the Make-A-Wish kids that have benefited from the Ty Eschenbaum Foundation. And then even to touch on, I haven't met any of the missionary aspect of this, but that they're also giving to that. So that's 3 different things that they're donating to in huge ways that I just thought was super important. And since we had the time, I might as well fill it. So
just go ahead and cover it.
Might as well keep going.
My biggest takeaway from the story was not only hearing Ty's own personal experience and journey with cancer, but with the Eschenbaum Foundation and with those scholarships, they just want to help children and families take that next big step in their life, that next chapter. So what did you take away after creating a story like this?
I think it's cool. Ty, he's such a humble guy, but it genuinely, when you see all the work he's doing, it's so moving. And also when you understand that he was in these same situations. He was a Make-A-Wish kid. He had cancer as a young adult. So he's been in these situations. So I just think the understanding, I think it's just cool to see somebody who's doing such good work and being able to see it afterwards, though, because sometimes you're giving money to something and you're not able to see the outcome of it. But when you're giving to the Ty Eschenbaum Foundation, you're like seeing, you can go meet the Make-A-Wish kids that dreams are being fulfilled. You can meet these cancer survivor scholarship recipients. So I think that's just the cool part about this is you can visibly see it. And I think a lot of people have been watching, and I think it's been really cool for them to see, okay, I know exactly what my money's going towards, and I'm seeing those kids live out their dreams, be benefited from this.
That's a great takeaway. Is there anything else that you think our viewers should know about this Eye on KELOLAND story?
I just think, so ticket sales, they end this Friday. So if you want to be able to go to that, you sort of got to get on it quickly. But I just think it's cool. I think if you haven't heard about the Ty Eschenbaum Foundation, we've done a bunch of stories with him and covered really what he's been able to do. So we have a lot that we've done with him on KELOLAND.com. So if you're interested, there's a lot more for you to dig into.
Wonderful. And then Summer, what kind of story are you working on for tonight on KELOLAND News?
Yeah, so it's Veterans Day, and I got to go to a Veterans Day program. It was super cool. I'd been to some Memorial Day programs, but I don't think I've actually been to, at least not many, Veterans Day programs. And I was able to talk with the new executive director, I believe that's the title, don't quote me on that, of
they got to find out tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Of the South Dakota Military Heritage Alliance. But then I also got to talk to a service member and sort of just break down the importance of why they wanted people to show up and what to take away after Veterans Day is over.
Excellent. Well, very timely. And this is the end of Inside the Newsroom, Summer. So I just want to give a shout out to a veteran that is in my personal life, my papa, David, who served during the Vietnam War, and he watches Inside the Newsroom every day because he's one of the best supporters. So he definitely deserves a big shout out right now.
Yeah, shout out Papa David.
Yeah, Papa David.
No, let's go Papa David. I love that.
Give it to him.
I probably have too many veterans in my life to name them all, but definitely a huge thanks on this Veterans Day.
Wonderful. Summer, thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for watching. Until next time, have a great day and happy Veterans Day.